Ever get that feeling like you found something huge, something that could, like, change everything?
Oh, I know that feeling.
Now, imagine it's not you, but, like, a scientist years into some intense research project and bam, breakthrough.
Totally. They're ecstatic, right?
But that excitement, that potential to make a real impact, it can vanish if they don't, well, if they don't get the word out.
Yeah, if they don't publish their findings, it's like, oh.
Exactly. And that's what we're really digging into today, this awesome guide to writing and publishing, well, for scientists, that is.
It's about taking that spark of discovery and turning it into, a full-blown explosion of knowledge.
I love that analogy because you're so right. Publishing is like the launch pad for all of this incredible scientific work. It takes those aha moments out of the lab and shares them with the world.
Exactly. Otherwise, even the most revolutionary discovery is like it never even happened.
Almost tragic when you really think about it. Years, sometimes decades, of work potentially leading to, well, life-changing stuff. And it all hinges on getting this one thing right, this communication piece. And this guide, it doesn't sugarcoat it either. The peer review process, for example, just the thought of it makes me nervous.
I get it. It can be pretty intimidating. You spend months, years even, meticulously crafting this paper, and then, well, it's like sending it out into the lion's den.
It's like a test of fire.
Right. Your peers, they analyze every single detail, they debate your methods, your conclusions. Sometimes, honestly, they even flat out reject it.
Ouch.
But it's essential. It's what keeps science, well, science. It ensures that only the most rigorous, the most thoroughly vetted research makes it out there.
I can see that. It's like a quality control system for knowledge, I guess, but still nerve-wracking. And this guide, it covers it all, how to handle the peer review process, the ins and outs of academic journals, so much good stuff.
It's a jungle out there.
It really is. But it all begins with, and I think we both know where this is going, a really killer research question.
It's the foundation,
Yeah.
Like for a house, if the research question is weak, the whole thing collapses.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. But what makes a research question, like, good enough for all of this, for scientific publishing?
Well, the guide had some really good examples, contrasting a really vague question, something like, what impacts plant growth, with something way more focused, like does adding, what was it, biochar? Yeah, biochar to the soil, does that help tomatoes grow better?
It's a huge difference.
One's just too broad, you can't really get a real answer, but the other, you can design a study, test it, measure it, really dig into it.
Yeah, the specificity, that's key. And this is making me think about all those times I've gone down these research rabbit holes, starting with a question that's way too general, ending up with like a million tabs open, no real answers.
And that is where this whole literature review thing comes in. Before you even think about doing any experiments or collecting data or any of that, you got to know what's already out there. What have other researchers already found? What are the big debates? You have to, like, position your own work within, the bigger picture of science.
Right. You don't want to spend all this time on a project only to find out, oops, someone already did it. That would be so frustrating. This guide had some helpful tips on how to actually do a literature review. I wish I had known this stuff back in college.
Don't tell me you were one of those students just citing the first few things they found on Google Scholar.
Maybe, maybe not. But this guide really stressed going way beyond a surface-level search, like really diving deep into the good databases, using the right keywords, even following those citation trails. It's like detective work or something.
It really is. You're putting the pieces together, following clues to build a solid case for your research. And once you've got that groundwork done, well, then you move on to the next part.
So now it's time to actually write the paper, right? I remember back in my school days, research papers felt like, I don't know, climbing a mountain or something.
Yeah.
But this guide, it lays everything out so clearly.
It's like they use this analogy of, like, building a house. You wouldn't just, start throwing bricks around without a plan.
Definitely not.
Same with a scientific paper. It needs that strong structure.
Yeah.
Abstract, introduction, the methods you use, what you found, your discussion about it, and then the conclusion. Each part's got its own job, just like, the foundation and the walls and the roof of a house.
So I'm guessing the methods section, that's like when the building inspector comes in to make sure everything's up to code, huh? Because if other people can't reproduce what you did.
Oh, for sure. You need that transparency. You got to be able to show exactly what you did, how you did it, even why. That's how science moves forward. People build on what's already been done. They try to replicate results, and that pushes the boundaries further out.
Makes sense. But sometimes, I've got to admit, even when the research itself sounds super cool, those papers can be a little dry.
It's easy to get lost in the jargon, especially when it's stuff you're deep into every day. You forget everyone else hasn't spent their life on this one topic.
Right.
There's that story in the guide about this Professor Lay. Brilliant work with algae. Potentially could have changed how we deal with, like, I don't know, climate change or something. But he got so bogged down explaining his methods, nobody understood the impact.
Oh no, poor Professor Lai. It's like that saying, if a tree falls in the forest and all that.
Exactly. You gotta be able to communicate those findings in a way that connects. Which brings us to that next big hurdle, peer review. That's where your carefully crafted paper goes out there to be, well,
It's
scrutinized.
back into the lion's den.
Pretty much. The guide breaks down those different types of peer review, whether it's single blind or double blind or even open. Each has its good points and bad points. But really, it's about getting those outside perspectives, those critiques that make your work stronger.
They had that story, I think it was Dr. Kapoor, submitted this paper, and let's just say the feedback on his methods wasn't kind.
Yeah.
Really highlighted how important it is to be prepared for that level of, like, examination.
It's like a job interview. You don't just stroll in unprepared, right? You got anticipate the questions they'll ask, think through the weak spots, be ready to back up your work. Same idea here.
Preparation is key. But even when you're prepared, sometimes you get rejected. And that's got to be tough, even for, experienced researchers. Does the guide talk about that?
They do, and I love their take on it. They say, look, rejection, it's not a sign you're a bad researcher. It's just part of the game. It's about finding the right fit, and sometimes that takes a few tries.
I like that. Like dating. Sometimes it's not a match. No big deal. You move on. You send that paper out again.
Exactly. That rejection could lead you somewhere even better, which actually makes me think we can't forget about audience. Who are you writing this for?
Right, like Dr. Nakamura, submitting that pottery research to a physics journal.
A little niche, to say the least. The guide really emphasizes how important that is, figuring out your target audience. Who are you trying to reach with this? Is it other experts in this tiny little corner of your field? Or are you going for a broader, more general science audience?
Makes a huge difference in how you frame your whole argument, what kind of language you use, even what journals you submit to.
Yeah.
And it's cool. This guy doesn't just talk about the traditional stuff, the journals. It gets into open access publishing, promoting your work online, even using social media.
It's like democratizing scientific knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Making these discoveries available to anyone who's curious.
And who knows what could come from that, right? The collaborations, the innovation. Pretty exciting.
Totally. And while this guide focuses on scientists, I think there's something here for everyone listening. No matter what your field is, sharing what you know in a way that other people can connect with, that's powerful stuff.
I love that. Because those aha moments, those sparks of discovery, they can ignite something much bigger when they're shared. And you never know who's listening, who you might inspire, or even whose life you might change by putting that knowledge out there.
Exactly. So next time you stumble on something fascinating, something that makes you go, huh, ask yourself, how can I share this? How can I add my piece to what we know about the world? Because your unique perspective, your ideas, they matter,
Yeah.
and the world needs them.